What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Balian, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Knicks' Game 3 win and their Game 4 loss in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. And I'm also going to tell you why this series is not over. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I'm going to start with the Knicks' top two players. They're two All-Stars, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, because I think there is a problem between them. When Jalen Brunson has been on the court in late game situations, the offense has been slow. It's been stagnant. It's been clunky. Jalen Brunson is trying to play too much hero ball. And we got a glimpse of what the offense can be when Jalen Brunson is not trying to play hero ball and when Jalen Brunson is completely out of the picture. In Game 3, Deuce McBride was running the point guard as the game was coming to a close because Brunson had 5 fouls. I get it. Brunson had to sit because he couldn't foul out. The Knicks need him to close games, right? The offense looked tremendous. This is what I had been waiting for. This is where I felt the Knicks could be all season. The problem is that Jalen Brunson wants to take too many shots in late game situations. And I get it, he's the closer, he's the clutch player of the year, he should be the guy taking a lot of shots down the stretch, but he doesn't have to be shooting everything. He does have other options that are viable, that can score. Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby has been really good shooting the basketball this series. The Knicks have other guys. It doesn't just have to be Jalen Brunson like it was last postseason. Last year, the Knicks were down to their bare bones. They had nothing. It had to be Jalen Brunson scoring at least 40 points a game if the Knicks were going to have a shot at winning. This year, it's different. Jalen doesn't have to make that decision. Jalen doesn't have to shoot every time. He has teammates that can score. He has teammates that he can pass the ball to, and I would feel confident with them taking shots. Before Game 3, I didn't think Karl-Anthony Towns was one of those guys. I thought he was a playoff faller and not a guy that would rise to the occasion. But in Game 3, when Jalen Brunson was on the bench and it was Karl-Anthony Towns with a lot of bench players, I love that unit. Karl-Anthony Towns turned into a man. He had his New York Knicks moment. He was aggressive. He was strong. He didn't fade away. I look at that one play where he posterized Andrew Nembhard, and he got an N1 off of it. Those are the plays I've been looking for from Karl-Anthony Towns. I love what Cat did in Game 3. He was great in Game 4. Not great, I would say. He was really good in Game 4 as well, just not fading away. And I will say, even when he does fade away, I still hate the fadeaway, but he does have a nice touch around the rim. So what I'm getting at here is there a Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson fit problem? Are these two guys next to each other not the answer? Do the Knicks have to move off of either Cat or Brunson if they want to win a championship? Because right now, the Knicks have a really nice team. They have an Eastern Conference Finals caliber team. I don't think this team can win the NBA Finals. I don't think the Knicks are good enough to beat the Thunder. They were good enough to beat the Celtics, so I'm not as worried about them. I'm kind of worried about the Cavs still. I know I talked a big game about how I'm not worried about the Cavs at all during the season, but this series has shown me that the Cavs might match up pretty well with the Knicks. Because after Mikal Bridges had a really good series against Boston, he has not played as well this series. He hasn't shot the ball as well, and I think I have a segment about him later in the episode. I don't, so I'll get to it right now. But some of his shot selection has been absolutely horrendous. There's the one possession I look at in Game 4 where the Knicks had a fast break opportunity. There were 2 yellow jerseys back. Mikal Bridges was driving. Mikal recognized that he didn't have an opportunity to shoot a layup, so he pulled it back about a dribble and a half, and then he pulled up for a fadeaway mid-range jump shot in transition. Like, that's just not the shot you need to be taking. At that point, I like pushing the ball in transition, looking for a a fast break opportunity, but when it's not there, that's when you pull the ball out. That's when you slow the pace. You don't have to put up a shot like there's 3 seconds on the clock and you're down a point. You have the ability to reset the offense. There's no need to be taking that shot from Mikal Bridges. And I think if you're listening to this and you watch the game, I think you'll know what shot I was talking about. But if you don't, you can go look it up. I'm sure it'll be there. But getting back to the Cat and Jalen Brunson issue, I don't know if these guys fit well with each other. And then that begs the question, well, who do you want on the court in the final minutes? Eventually, you're going to have them both on the court together in the last 2 minutes, in the last minute and 30 seconds. But winding down from 5 to 3 minutes, from 5 to 2 minutes, whatever it is, who do you want on the court? Right now, I'm taking Karl-Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson has been so clutch for the Knicks this year, but in the last 4 or 5 games, he hasn't been as good with the clock winding down. He hasn't been as good when it's time for him to put the Knicks on his back. And I think it's a lot of credit to the Pacers. Aaron Nesmith and Benedict Mathurin have done a terrific job defending him. I say it all the time. Those guys are like glued to Brunson. They do not let him slip away. They do not give him an inch of separation. So maybe it's just better for Cat in this series to be on the court in the closing minutes and have Deuce playing the point guard. But I think there is the idea that you can have Jalen on the court, but then who's your big? Because you really can't have Mitch out there or he's just going to get hacked. So is that Precious? Ariel Hukporty's not playing. It's either Mitch or Precious, and I think Tibbs would like to play Mitch. I just don't think he can. So right now, Karl-Anthony Towns is the guy I want out there in the late game moments when the Knicks are trying to mount a comeback. Because when you're trying to mount a comeback, you need the defense. And both of them are defensive liabilities. Cat is just better, and Deuce is a better replacement defensively. He does more for your team, especially against the Pacers, than Precious or Mitchell Robinson would. Mitchell Robinson is a game changer. He's a tremendous rebounder, tremendous rim protector. I just think Deuce is of more value to the Knicks than Mitchell Robinson in this series. Against Boston, I might favor Mitch and want Jalen Brunson on the court. But against Indiana specifically, I would rather have Deuce McBride and Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor. Now, these are the questions that Leon Rose is going to have to come to terms with this summer. He's going to have to make the decisions. Are the Knicks going to run it back? Are they going to make a big trade? What's Mikal Bridges' status? Who is untouchable? And we'll have those conversations throughout the summer, but right now we're still in the midst of it. It's Game 5, and I'm going to talk about why the Knicks aren't out of this series at the end of the episode. But now let's get to Mitchell Robinson moving into the starting lineup. First, I was worried about how Josh Hart would take it, but then the story came out that Josh went to Tibbs, and it was more of a mutual decision than Tibbs just saying, Mitch, you're starting, Josh, you're on the bench. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I like it. But the problem I've seen with it is I feel like Mitchell Robinson's offensive rebounding has slowed down over the past 2 games since he's been implemented into the starting lineup. Now, I don't have the stats to back this up, but Mitch is still a game changer. I just think the offensive rebounds has slowed down a little bit. Not completely, but it has slowed down where he was just wrecking havoc in game 1 and 2, in the Pistons series, in the Boston series, where this series, he's struggling a little bit. And I think a lot of it is the effort that Indiana plays with. Those guys are high-intensity, high-motor players that are playing like the season's on the line. And the other thing I want to say about Game 4, the Knicks did not come out of the half playing like their season was on the line. I'm going to talk about the second half hangover, as I like to call it, as we get later into this episode. But when you're coming out of the half trying to stave off a 3-1 deficit, you cannot come out and turn the ball over multiple possessions in a row. You have to be locked in, you have to be intense, and you have to be disciplined. And that's just not what the Knicks were. And that's what allowed Indiana to balloon their lead to 14 points early in that third quarter, and then eventually maintain that lead for the rest of the game. Because the Knicks never really got within 4 points. They were always just, it was 4 or 5 points, and then it would shoot back up to 10 or 11, back down to 6 or 7, and then it was back up to 10 for Indiana. So the Knicks just have to do a better job of getting out of halftime. Like, that was a 69-64 game at the half, I want to say. And in the blink of an eye, the Knicks were down 14 out of the half. So that's the biggest thing I think they have to change. But getting back to Mitchell Robinson, and more Josh Hart in this scenario. I kind of like Josh better off the bench. The Knicks do need that veteran presence, that calming voice, that calming guy where he's not going to run the floor in transition and chuck up stupid three-pointers. If he's going coast to coast, he's going to get downhill and get a layup. He's not going to pull up from 5 feet behind the arc like Cam Payne would. He's not going to make too many passes and run the Knicks out of a possession. I'm not saying that any of those guys do that. He's going to make the smart play. There are times where he overpasses and he's too passive on the offensive side of the ball. But when you get him out in the open court, when you get Josh Hart moving around, he is one of the better players in this league at going coast to coast. The other thing with Josh coming off the bench, Indiana's full court pressure for the full 90 feet is something the Knicks, now they necessarily haven't struggled dealing with it, but they haven't really been flawless at handling it. There has been some times where they've struggled with it. So I think Josh Hart inbounding and potentially bringing up the ball when you need it, that's also huge for the Knicks. And really, it's not about who starts. It's about who finishes games. I know Derek Rose, rather. I'm thinking about DeLon Wright right now. Derek Rose back in 2021 when he was on the Knicks, he never started games, right? But guess who was always on the court in the closing minutes of the game? As the clock was counting down, as the Knicks were trying to close out victories, it was Derrick Rose, because he's a veteran, because he knows how to handle these big games, and I think that's what Josh Hart does. You look at, I think it was 2 years ago when the Knicks played the Cavs in the first round. Josh Hart was mic'd up in that game, and he went to Mitchell Robinson. He's like, yeah, Mitch, you get the normal rebounds, but I get the rebounds that break teams. And that has stood true to this day. You see it in Game 3. He's chasing down crazy rebounds, flying across the paint to seal the game. That's what Josh Hart does. That's his MO. And Mitch not being able to play in the fourth quarter, that opens up the lane for Josh Hart. Now, continuing to talk about the bench here, let's get to the rest of the bench now. I really like what the two guys that Tibbs extended the rotation for, DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet, have given you. I think it's more of DeLon Wright. I love the effort he's playing with. He had that one possession where the Knicks made a basket. Indiana was taking the ball out on the baseline. Wright sort of intercepted the pass coming from behind Halliburton, who was ready to receive the pass. Now, he did miss the layup, but I love that fire, that fight, that intensity that he knows he has to play with if he wants to stay on the court. DeLon Wright is not a guy that has consistent minutes with the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau has not shown a willingness to play him very often, but he has extended the rotation and he has realized that, hey, I need to utilize my bench. This is desperate times. It's time to call for desperate measures. This is uncharted territory for the Knicks, and you say it's uncharted territory, but this is when we scream about, why is Jalen Brunson playing 40 minutes in the regular season? Why not give DeLon Wright a couple minutes? Why not let DeLon Wright start a third quarter? Who cares? It's a regular season game. You're pretty much guaranteed to make the playoffs. I mean, you won 50 games the past 2 years. You were the 2 seed last year. You're the 3 seed this year. You can live with Jalen being off the court in the regular season. And I'm not saying it has to be a whole quarter. Just incorporate more guys in the regular season rotation so when you have to match up with Indiana, you're ready for a situation like this. You're ready to tap DeLon Wright on the shoulder. You're ready to tap Landry Shamet on the shoulder and say, hey guys, I need 7-8 minutes from each of you tonight. What can you give me? Now, both of these guys have adjusted perfectly, and both of these guys have played really good games, both in Indiana. But you would have liked to see them play a little bit more and have some experience playing with the Knicks before they just get thrown into Eastern Conference Finals games. And the other thing I'm shocked about is Tom Thibodeau played 10 players in Game 4. He played Precious Achiuwa off the bench. He played Deuce. He played Josh Hart. He played Landry Shamet. And he played DeLon Wright. Now, I get that Precious played just because Mitch and Cat were both in foul trouble, but he's still playing that guy. I wouldn't have been surprised if Cat came back into that game with 2 fouls. Tibbs said, hey, this is Game 4. If we go down 3-1, it might be over. You need to be out there. I don't care how many fouls you have. Just be smart. And I'm going to say something else about the fouls after I finish this point. But no, he went to Precious Achiuwa, a guy that has given really good effort every time he's gotten minutes in a Knicks uniform since he was acquired in that OG Anunoby Emmanuel Quickley trade. He has played well. He has been a satisfactory player for you. And although he didn't play much in this game, he probably played 4 minutes before Cat was ready to go again, before Mitch was ready to go again. I forget who entered the game for him. Precious is serviceable. He's a guy, he's a pro. He's someone that you can tap on the shoulder and he'll be ready to go. He doesn't have to get ready. He stays ready. And now what I want to say about the foul trouble. And I have a segment about the referees coming up because some of that stuff in Game 4 was just absolutely brutal. But Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns have to be smarter about not giving up fouls early in games. They should know at this point the referees are going to be quick to blow the whistle. We are 4 games into this series. They know what the whistle's going to be like. And yes, while it might be very one-sided, you have to know what it's going to be and you have to adjust. You can't just keep playing the same way if it's not working. You have to change your game, and if it does mean Pascal Siakam scores 2 points on you, if it does mean Tyrese Halliburton hits a 3-pointer, so be it. We need you guys in these games. You are the 2 best players. You're the first time we had 2 all-star starters in who knows how long. The Knicks need Cat and Brunson to be on the court, and they haven't been available because they've both been in foul trouble for so long in this series. Scott Foster, the Knicks' secret weapon, didn't do them any favors in Game 3. It's all the little ticky-tack fouls. And listen, I'm okay with the refs calling all the fouls, or if they're letting these guys play and they're swallowing the whistle, if it goes both ways. It hasn't gone both ways. In Game 4, the officials called 4 fouls in 12 seconds on the Knicks. That doesn't happen. Especially on the other side of the ball, where Pascal Siakam is body bumping OG Anunoby out of bounds when he goes up for a rebound. But when Josh Hart goes up for a rebound and bodies bang, and there's boxing out, there's a little bit of contact, just a little bit of contact, they're quick to blow the whistle. At some point, it's like, are you blowing the whistle by accident? Did you just take a breath by accident and the whistle blew? It's unacceptable what the officials have done in this series. And it hasn't benefited the Knicks at all, but it's definitely benefited the Indiana Pacers. And the last thing I'm going to say about the refs is when Reggie Miller and Stan Van Gundy are agreeing with me on the broadcast, that's a problem. Reggie Miller has made me want to mute the TV in this series so many times. He's such a Pacers homer, and I get it. He's a Pacers legend. He's going to root for the Pacers. But when it gets to a point where you have to be impartial, you're getting paid as a national TV broadcaster to do these games. You're not getting paid as the Pacers announcer. You are getting paid by TNT, a national company. And while, yes, you can be on the Pacers side a little bit, it's just so egregious. So when he is agreeing with me, that's the bigger issue. That's what lets me know that I'm correct and the refs are just not helping the Knicks whatsoever. It's honestly a huge problem. Now I'm going to talk about the second half and how the Knicks are going to get back in this series and win in 7 games, and then I'll wrap up the episode after that. So the Knicks coming out of second halves have just been brutal. It's been a theme of the season. It's something they've struggled with for a long time. They haven't been able to come out of the second half with energy. And Mikal Bridges proposed the layup lines. The Knicks started doing layup lines at halftime, and it worked for a couple games, but that effect seems to have worn off as the Knicks have fallen back into that trap of not being able to pick up the pace after halftime. In this one, they went probably 3 or 4 straight possessions coming out of the locker room, turning the ball over, and Indiana capitalizes on turnovers. When you turn the ball, they are quick to push in transition. They're going to take shots, even if they're contested. They want to beat you by fast break points. They want to beat you by scoring 160 points. That is the Pacers game. So you have to be careful. You cannot turn the ball over. You cannot have these empty possessions. And the other thing, you need stops. When you're trying to climb back into a game after going down 15 points, you cannot be trading baskets. You need to get stops. You need to get rebounds. And you can't allow the Pacers to get offensive rebounds. Those have been killing me this series. The offensive rebounds are so bothersome. Because the Knicks are supposed to be one of the best rebounding teams in the league. With Josh Hart, with Mitchell Robinson, with OG Anunoby. 3 guys that bang bodies, that are always down low looking to make the right basketball play. You also have another 7-footer in Karl Anthony Towns, but a lot of the time on offense, he's on the wing. And on defense, he's trying to run out. He's trying to be the one receiving the outlet pass and running the fast break. But getting back to what I was saying, coming out of the second half, especially with the season on the line, it's just unacceptable. It's inexcusable. You have to be better coming out of the locker room because you know the Pacers are going to be looking to throw the first punch of the second half. And you're not going to be able to weather that storm when you're trailing when you hit the locker room. I just ended on a negative point for the Knicks, but there is still a way they can get back in this series. Obviously, it starts with winning Game 5 at home. You are supposed to win at home. I don't care how bad they've been in this postseason. You need to win at home. Your season depends on it, obviously. Yes, it's 3-1. If they lose one more game, they're done. But throughout the postseason, I don't understand what the problem has been with the Knicks not being able to play at home. They shouldn't be this bad. I feel like they feed off of it in the regular season, but in the postseason, when the energy has been cranked up, they folded under it. However, in Game 5, I just can't see them losing. I can't see them going meekly into the night. It's going to be a close game, and it's going to be one of those games where I need the Knicks to just run away at the end. Maybe this is the game where you play Jalen Brunson and you sit Karl Anthony Towns because Brunson is not letting the Knicks lose. He is so good coming off losses in the postseason. They rarely ever lose back-to-back games, and when he comes off losses, he is a different animal. He did have a good game in Game 4, but he was not very good in Game 3. So you saw what he did. He bounced back in Game 4, and he's always bouncing back like that. So maybe we'll get some kind of superhero Jalen Brunson performance in this game. And then in Game 6, you proved you could win at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Do it again. Steal one on the road, and then you come back to the Garden for Game 7, and anything can happen. The 2 best words in sports, Game 7. We want a rematch of a Game 7 back at the Garden to make our wrong right from last year. Now, if I was a betting man, I wouldn't put my money on this happening, but I'm just saying there is a way that the Knicks can get back in this series and potentially win. It's very unlikely, but there's always a chance when you haven't lost 4 games yet. The Pacers still need to win 1 more. But suddenly, Tyrese Halliburton is on the brink of his first NBA Finals appearance, and he's in his second Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Where does this place him in, I wouldn't say face of the league, but where does this place him in rankings? Is he top 10? Top 15? I would probably put him between 10 and 15. And then even, he is one of the bright young stars. I could see him fizzling out over the next 2 years, but this is really a run where he has been dominant, and the Pacers have won a lot of basketball games in the postseason. All right, I'm going to plug one thing before I wrap up this episode. I'm super excited to be announcing that I am partnering with Playback. If you don't know what Playback is, it's a live streaming service that's completely free to you. You can watch me on there. I'm going to be live streaming on Friday, May 30th for the Mets and Rockies game. The stream is starting at 7 o'clock. I hope to see you there. Similar to the watch-along stream that I did for the Knicks and Pistons series, if you remember that. If you don't, you could go watch that back on my YouTube channel. But I can actually show the game now, so I hope you guys join there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking sports. It doesn't have to be specifically Mets, but the Mets game is going to be on. We're going to be talking about the Mets. I hope to see you there. I'm super excited to announce this partnership. And then go check out all my other socials. They're all linked in the description below, as they are every episode. Also, make sure you subscribe, comment, like, follow, share. Do all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. One more thing. Make sure you leave me a voicemail at 848-305-8073 with your sports questions and takes. Again, that's 848-305-8073. And most importantly, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.